The Price of Gravity, Chapter 1. First contact. The sunset over Earth's largest cities painted the sky with streaks of orange. Violet and red, a spectacle familiar to every human alive. Yet tonight, the peaceful twilight was pierced by an unnatural darkness that no one had ever imagined. A vast armada of alien ships, silently blotting out the stars. Captain Elena Torres stood atop the roof of the Global Defense Command Center in New York, her eyes fixed on the skies. She was a veteran of countless crises, but never had she witnessed anything like this. The fleet wasn't just a few scout ships, it was an entire invasion armada. The ships themselves were diverse in shape and material. Some resembled towering, armored reptiles with sharp edges. Others floated like translucent jellyfish, their bodies pulsing with eerie bioluminescence. There were sleek, biomechanical constructs that emitted low humming sounds, insectoid vessels that moved in eerie unison, and ethereal forms that seemed to flicker in and out of perception. Each type carried an unmistakable air of purpose. They were not here for peaceful exploration. Across the city, millions of people gathered around windows and digital screens, watching live feeds as the alien fleet eclipsed the setting sun. Governments scrambled to respond, communications networks buzzed with urgency, and emergency broadcasts interrupted every channel. In the midst of this chaos, the first transmission arrived. A distorted voice echoed through every speaker, every radio, every personal device. People of Earth, you have been observed. You are deemed primitive and unworthy of independent existence. You will surrender your world to the Zelenary Convergence. The voice was chillingly calm. No hint of negotiation, no room for misunderstanding. Elena's comms officer, Lieutenant Marco Chen, looked at her wide-eyed. They're demanding surrender. She shook her head, voice steady but resolute. Not a chance. Her thoughts raced back to the years spent preparing for extraterrestrial contact. All theory, all simulations. None of it had prepared her for this. Meanwhile, across the Pacific in Tokyo, Dr. Aya Nakamura observed the fleet through the massive window of the International Space Observatory. As an astrobiologist, she was fascinated, yet terrified. These ships, Aya murmured, they're unlike anything in our databases. The biological markers, the tech signatures, it's a blend of organic and mechanical, symbiotic and synthetic. Her colleague, engineer Kato Ishikawa, nodded grimly. It's almost as if they evolved together, the ships and their pilots. This isn't just an invasion, it's an ecological phenomenon. Aya shivered, and we're the ecosystem they intend to dominate. Back in New York, the military leadership convened an emergency council. Across holographic maps, the alien vessels were pinpointed, their numbers staggering. General Richard Malik, a grizzled veteran with decades of combat experience, leaned forward. What do we know about their weapons and defenses? Preliminary scans indicate advanced energy shields that absorb electromagnetic attacks, reported Cyber Warfare Officer Lieutenant Sana Malik. No relation. But their reaction times to physical projectiles seem slower. Their physiology, it's adapted to much lower gravity environments. That could be a weakness. The room fell silent. Prepare all ballistic weaponry, General Malik ordered. If their shields can't handle kinetic impacts, that's our opening. As night fell, the alien commanders gathered in their flagship's command bridge. Urshok warlord Garthak snarled, towering over his council. These humans are resilient. Their environment, this gravity, it strengthens them beyond expectations. The ethereal Felax diplomat, eyes glowing softly, responded, They are primitive, yes. But the gravity, it shapes their bodies like steel. Our weapons can cut their ships, but their soldiers endure where ours falter. A soft, translucent Therian scientist added, Their kinetic weapons pierce our energy barriers. We must adapt quickly. Garthak bared his teeth, and we will crush them before they learn. On the streets below, ordinary people tried to carry on. Some praying, some fleeing, others gathering in makeshift militias. Among them, a young woman named Maya Ortiz gripped her father's old hunting rifle. They think we're weak, she whispered. We'll show them what Earth's children are made of. The battle for survival had begun. The Price of Gravity, Chapter 2, The First Clash, Scene 1. Dawn of Battle. The first light of dawn crept slowly over the battered skyline of New York City. Smoke still curled from fires started by the earlier skirmishes, and the sharp, acrid tang of burning metal hung thick in the air. The alien fleet, massive and unmoving, dominated the horizon like a dark leviathan, its ships poised to strike. Captain Alina Torres stood in the command center, eyes scanning live feeds streaming in from the city and battlefields around the world. The global defense network was firing on all cylinders: kinetic weapons, railguns, artillery batteries, and squads of specially trained infantry. The initial attacks had been devastating to the cities near the landing zones. Alien ground forces deployed rapidly, their sleek biomechanical forms gliding over rubble and ash. But the humans fought back with relentless grit. Elena's come buzzed. Lieutenant Marco Chen's voice was sharp. Captain, railgun batteries have locked onto a squad of Urshak infantry advancing near Central Park. Open fire, Alina ordered. Target priority, Urshak ground units. We've got to hold the line. Outside the windows, flashes of blue and orange lit the morning haze, the signatures of kinetic rounds smashing through alien armor, sending twisted fragments of shells and alien flesh flying. Scene 2. Human resilience. In the shattered streets of Manhattan, Maya Ortiz crouched behind a crumbling wall, her rifle steady in her hands. Around her, fighters moved with desperation and determination. Soldiers alongside civilians wielding everything from crowbars to homemade explosives. "Hold your fire until they're in range," Maya whispered into her cum, her voice low but steady. Her heart pounded in time with the distant thuds of artillery. A group of Urshak warriors advanced, their sinewy, scaled muscles flexing unnaturally as they moved against gravity they were not built to endure. Their energy shields flickered weakly under human ballistic fire, but kinetic rounds tore through like blades through cloth. Maya's squad opened fire, the sharp cracks of rifles echoing through the rubble-strewn streets. One alien collapsed, clutching its chest as dark ichor spilled out. "They can't handle our gravity," Maya muttered fiercely. "We have the advantage." Scene 3. Alien frustration aboard the Jerax. Warlord Garthak's patience snapped. "Why do our shields fail?" he demanded, slamming a massive claw onto the command table. The Felax diplomat, calm but concerned, replied, "Their kinetic weapons pierce our defenses. The gravity weighs us down. Our strength is not what it should be." The Therian scientist floated forward. "Our soldiers fatigue quickly, even with biosupport suits. Their muscles fail under the strain of Earth's gravity. It hampers their reflexes and endurance." Garthak growled low. "We must adapt or perish. Mobilize the Drask units. Their speed and coordination may counter Earth's weight." Scene 4. Technology and Tactics in Tokyo. Dr. Aya Nakamura and engineer Kato Ishikawa worked feverishly alongside military advisors. Their task was to analyze alien biology and tech and find ways to exploit their weaknesses. Aya studied detailed scans of alien muscle fiber and bone structure. Their biology is fragile in 1 gram. Without suits, they can't move more than a few steps without collapsing. Kato pointed at energy readings from alien shields. They rely heavily on energy shields and biosuits to compensate, but kinetic weapons disrupt their suits' integrity. Aya nodded. "Can't beat them with plasma and lasers. Railguns and ballistics are our best bet." Kato turned to a table strewn with prototype weapons. "We're developing enhanced kinetic rounds. Armor-piercing, high velocity. The goal is to punch right through their defenses." Scene 5. Rising casualties back in New York, the cost of battle became clear. Alina stood watching live feeds from medics evacuating wounded civilians and soldiers alike. "Casualties are rising," reported Lieutenant Santa Malik, her voice tight with fatigue. "Supplies are running low in several sectors." Alina clenched her fists. "We hold. We can't lose ground." Nearby, paramedics worked tirelessly to treat burns, lacerations, and shock. For every alien that fell, several humans did too, but the human spirit was unbroken. Scene 6. Unexpected allies unexpectedly. A new broadcast interrupted military channels worldwide. The Felax diplomat spoke in a calm, resonant voice. "People of Earth, we are not all united against you. There are factions among our species who believe coexistence is possible. We seek parley." Alina and the council exchanged wary glances. "Could any of the alien factions be trusted?" General Malik ordered. "Maintain defensive posture, but open secure channels for dialogue. We need every advantage we can get. Scene 7. Preparing for a long war. As night fell once more, the world held its breath. The initial shock had passed, but the conflict was only beginning. Elena returned to the rooftop, eyes cast skyward. "We don't just survive. We endure," she repeated quietly. "We fight. For Earth, for humanity." Below, the city slept uneasily, broken but unbowed. Above, the alien fleet waited, still vast and menacing, but no longer invincible. End of Chapter 2. The Price of Gravity, Chapter 3. A Fragile Bridge, Scene 1. Fault lines in the convergence, far above Earth. Aboard the orbiting diplomatic barge, Velter, the atmosphere inside the crystalline council chamber was tense. The 6 primary species of the Zelenary convergence had not met face-to-face since the invasion began. Holograms usually sufficed, but in the wake of mounting losses, distrust. And the sudden contact from the Felax diplomat to Earth's defenders, the old alliance was cracking. Warlord Garthak of the Urshok stood, arms folded across his armored chest. "The humans bleed us. Their weapons rend through our soldiers. Their gravity breaks our bones. They do not fight like primitives," hissed Cyrilla, the Drask coordinator. Her insectoid voice vibrated through the air, sharp and precise. "They have not even left their own planet, and still they exploit our every weakness." A soft chiming voice rose, luminous, slow-moving tendrils of the Therian delegate drifting in midair. "We underestimated the ecological advantage they possess. Earth shapes their resilience. Our forces falter not from lack of strength, but from fighting nature itself." The Felix diplomat, known to humans simply as Vethin, watched the argument unfold with silent calculation. His people had long argued that Earth should be observed, not conquered, and now the consequences were clear. Vethin's voice was smooth and melodic. "We must consider alternatives to conquest." Garthak's deep laugh was a rumble of contempt. "You would speak of peace after they have filled our dead ships with your pacifism." "No," Vethin said. "I speak of survival, not theirs." Scene 2. The war underground beneath the shell of bombed-out Paris. Resistance groups operated in the deep metro tunnels, a web of humanity surviving by light, grit, and stubborn refusal to bow. Maya Ortiz, her clothing torn and soot-streaked, crouched beside a makeshift map table in a former subway control room. Her squad, once a group of neighbors, had become one of the most effective guerrilla units in the region. "Drask scouts were spotted near the Eiffel Tower ruins," said Jamal, now her second in command, moving in formation, like clockwork, but slow. "Our gravity messes with their reaction timing." Maya nodded, checking the pulse rifle slung over her shoulder. A recovered alien weapon. Heavy, awkward in her hands, but powerful. "We'll ambush them on the overpass. Use the terrain. They can't fight uphill without assistance." Another fighter, Anya, leaned in. "And the biosuits? We shoot the joints, right?" "Exactly," Maya said. "Then we hit hard and vanish. Quick and brutal, even in the dark." They smiled grimly. They weren't just surviving, they were winning. Scene 3. Eyes in the sky. Above the Americas, in an old NORAD satellite monitoring station buried beneath Cheyenne Mountain, Captain Elena Torres stood with arms crossed, surrounded by screens. "We've got movement," reported Marco Chen. "One of their ships is breaking formation." Smaller. A scout or diplomatic vessel. Elena's eyes narrowed. "Is it approaching Earth?" "Slowly. Controlled descent." Non-military profile. Elena turned to Sana Malik. "Signal the international network. If this is another trick, I want railguns locked. But if they're reaching out, we need to know why." Scene 4. The landing of the alien ship came down in the Icelandic tundra, far from cities, isolated, neutral. It touched the Earth like a falling snowflake, a marvel of delicate engineering and strange grace. The hull was semi-organic, alive with color-shifting membranes. Tendrils rooted into the soil, and with a soft hiss, a side panel opened. A lone figure emerged. Vethin of the Felax, wrapped in a translucent biohalo that shimmered like starlight, took his first steps on Earth's soil. From the human side, a small delegation waited, led by Elena Torres, flanked by 2 diplomats, a security team. and a military drone that hovered silently above, recording everything. Vethin raised both hands in a gesture the humans recognized. Peace. I come without weapons, Vethin said, his voice softly amplified by a translator's fear. I seek to prevent mutual extinction. Elena studied him, tall but not imposing, thin like reeds in the wind. Not built for war, or for this gravity. She could already see the slight quiver in his limbs. Then talk, she said. We're listening. Scene 5. The proposal. Inside a hastily erected portable structure beneath the frigid sky, Elena and her team listened while Vethin explained. The Convergence is not united, he said. Some factions like my own warned against this invasion. The Urshak see conquest as a right, the Drask as a necessity. But they failed to account for your planet's most dangerous weapon, gravity. He paused, inhaling with effort. We grow weak in your world. Your bodies are denser, your muscles hardier. You adapt. You learn fast. Elena folded her arms. You thought we were cattle. Now we're tigers. Vethin inclined his head. Yes, and I propose this. I will give you knowledge, locations of Urshak troop movements, weaknesses in their biology. In return, you spare any captured Fellax. Give my people sanctuary. Let us survive alongside you. One of the human diplomats, a gray-haired British envoy named Wallace, leaned in. Add what? Stops us from taking your intel and turning our guns on you too. Vethin met Elena's eyes. Because I gave you the choice. And if humanity is what I believe it is, you won't become what you're fighting. Elena remained silent for a long moment, then slowly nodded. You'll have our protection, but betray us, and we end this personally. Scene 6. First betrayals. Far above, aboard the Jirax, word of Vethin's contact reached Garthak within hours. He descended, the warlord roared, to parley with primitives. Surla's mandibles clicked. Elex are weak. They always have been. Let them die with the humans. But another voice, deeper, colder, echoed through the chamber. The Caraxi overseer, one of the shadowy minds behind the Convergence's creation, finally spoke. Let him speak. We underestimated them once. We will not again. Garthak turned slowly. You would allow treason? I would allow strategy, said the overseer. Let the humans believe they have a choice. Let Vethin buy their trust. A glint of cruel calculation. Then we crush them all. Scene 7. The turning tide back on Earth. Human morale surged as news of Vethin's cooperation spread. Cautiously, selectively. New victories were achieved, ambushes succeeded. Alien squads faltered, civilians rallied. In Paris, Maya's team destroyed a Drask command node, capturing rare alien tech. In Tokyo, Aya Nakamura integrated alien neural mesh armor plating into ballistic shielding prototypes. And in the Pentagon, General Malik issued a rare public statement. The invaders believed our gravity was a curse. They failed to see. It is our greatest weapon. End of Chapter 3. The Price of Gravity Chapter 4 Cracks in the Void. Scene 1. Fragile Alliances. The War Council room deep beneath the Andes Mountains buzzed with quiet intensity. Since Vethin's arrival and subsequent intelligence sharing, humanity's scattered forces had begun to form a coordinated resistance. But not everyone trusted the aliens' motives. General Richard Malik leaned over a strategy holomap displaying global troop movements and alien ship deployments. We've made gains in Europe and Asia. They're regrouping in orbit. Captain Elena Torres, now coordinating resistance from the Andean stronghold, watched quietly. Vethin's information checks out. The Urshak supply lines through their orbital relay were exactly where he said they'd be. Still, said Malik, frowning, how long until he becomes a liability instead of an asset? Dr. Aya Nakamura spoke up from the tech terminal. He's giving us insight into species psychology we couldn't even guess at. He warned us about the Caraxes, some kind of central neural authority behind the entire convergence. It's not just military strategy anymore. It's mind war. Malik straightened. Then we'd better learn how they think. Fast. Scene 2. Occupied Cairo. Cairo was one of the first cities to fall during the initial descent. Now, it was a ghost metropolis. Glass towers cracked and leaning, drones humming over streets that once bustled with life. But under the rubble, humanity still moved. Maya Ortiz and her squad had smuggled themselves into the occupied zone 3 days earlier. Their mission: sabotage the Caraxi mine beacon pulsing from atop the Citadel, a converted skyscraper now crawling with Urshok warriors. Inside the collapsed metro tunnels, the squad huddled around a flickering map. Satellite uplinks confirm beacon energy output is spiking, Jamal whispered. They're broadcasting something. Maybe signals to the fleet. Or worse, Maya muttered. Maybe it's not a beacon. Maybe it's a gate. Anya loaded the last of their armor-piercing rockets. Then we blow the door shut. Scene 3. The face behind the fleet high above Earth. Aboard the obsidian vessel Niriveth, the Caraxi overseer sat within a neural cocoon, suspended in a sensory sea of synaptic light. It had no true face, no body as humans understood, only a fluid, adaptable form shaped by function and need. It absorbed billions of data fragments per second. Visual feeds, biosigns, thought patterns. One human stood out, Maya Ortiz. The overseer had watched her grow from chaos, watched her kill Drask, sabotage nodes, inspire factions, emotional resonance. High. Cognitive efficiency. Irregular, but effective. Risk. Significant. Apply pressure. Far below the mind, beacon pulsed. Scene 4. Resistance and revelation. The raid began just before dawn. Maya's team moved like shadows. They climbed shattered concrete, evaded alien patrols, and slipped through maintenance ducts into the heart of the Citadel. The beacon loomed like a massive crystalline tower, a monolith humming with alien thought. Tendrils of energy licked outward like lightning frozen in place. We plant the charges at the base, and Maya froze. A figure stood in front of the beacon, alone, watching her. It was humanoid, but shimmering, like a living memory. The form spoke. You are not what they said you were. The voice was in her mind, too clear, too calm. Maya raised her weapon. You're Caraxi. Yes, and you are fractured. You do not follow hierarchy. You are chaos, yet effective. Fascinating. The others couldn't hear it. Only Maya. They're talking to me, she whispered. Directly. Then talk later, said Jamal. We're on a timer. Maya's mind burned with pressure. Not pain, but intrusion. The Caraxi was probing, not for information, for emotion. She bit down on rage. You don't get to understand me, she fired. The echo of the shot shattered the trance. The form vanished. The beacon exploded. Scene 5. Orbit burns back on the Jirax. Garthak staggered as an alert screeched through the deck. The beacon in Cairo destroyed. Psychic feedback had knocked out half the forward command unit. The humans have crippled our cerebral link, hissed a subordinate. We are blind in the lower hemisphere. Garthak turned to the Therian tactician. Launch the burners. Scorch every stronghold they have. If we cannot hold the world, burn it. Scene 6. The firefall, the sky ignited, across the southern hemisphere. Massive burner pods dropped from orbit. Columns of fire designed to incinerate entire regions. They were desperation weapons. Not for conquest, but denial. Peru, Angola, Queensland, parts of the Amazon. Entire ecosystems burned. But humanity had seen the stars fall before. And this time, they were ready. Anti-orbital rail platforms powered by scavenged alien cores began firing. Thousands of streaks lit the sky. Some burners made it through, most didn't. And from the rubble of bombed cities, new voices rose. Radio signals, guerrilla networks, refugee militias, farmers with railguns, mechanics with drones. The world had stopped being afraid. Scene 7. A message to the stars inside the UN's underground broadcasting array. Alina faced the camera. This message is for the Zelenary Convergence and any species listening beyond them. She took a breath. You thought gravity was our prison? You thought we were trapped on this planet? You thought your superiority was absolute? Her eyes narrowed. We don't break under pressure. We forge in it. The broadcast played across alien channels. Even the Caraxi heard. Scene 8. Vethin's choice. Vethin stood on a cliff near Reykjavik, his limbs weak, his breath labored. Earth's gravity drained him more each day. But he watched the sky with awe. Humanity was fighting, not just with guns, but with will. Child approached him. Local, curious. Are you one of the bad ones? She asked in perfect English. Vethin shook his head. I was. Maybe I still am. But I chose a side. She held out a flower. I hope it's the right one. End of Chapter 4. The Price of Gravity. Chapter 5. The Sky Strikes Back. For generations, humanity looked up to the sky. Now for the first time, it rose. Earth's first orbital strike squadron, codenamed Tartarus, launched from the upper atmosphere using hybrid engines salvaged from alien debris. Ugly, dangerous, and oh so very functional. Captain Elena Torres stood strapped into the lead assault vessel, the Athena Spear. Around her, a unit of elite fighters and engineers and resistance veterans prepared for what none had dared before, to strike the invaders in orbit. The Cartesian squadron broke through the stratosphere in coordinated formation. Ahead of them loomed the Zarax, a colossus of bone and alloy, pulsing like a living god. The first wave was electromagnetic, a directed EMP blast that crippled the outer shielding nodes. The second wave was human. Lena led the insertion team through the ruptured outer shell and into the ship's biomechanical gut. The walls moved. The air tasted wrong. Gravity fluctuated in chaotic bursts. Malik, we're approaching the psionic nexus, she transmitted. No response. Radio silence. The ship wasn't metal. It was alive. Scene 5. Vethin's reckoning on Earth. Vethin stood alone on a cold Icelandic cliffside, his body weakening, lungs strained under Earth's crushing 1 gram. He activated a hidden Felix relay, a sphere of living glass, and sent a message. To my people I have made a choice. I gave them knowledge. I stood with the humans. The response came, emotionless and sharp. You betrayed the convergence. You betrayed unity. I preserved what you forgot, Vethin whispered. Choice. The sphere dimmed. He was now exiled, but not alone. Scene 6. Collapse of the collective inside the Jirax. Elena's team reached the central psionic relay, a twisted pillar of neural tendrils, pulsing like a giant brainstem. Something pulsed inside her skull, a whisper, not in sound, in thought. You do not understand. Elena fired. The shot struck the relay dead center. Sparks, fluid, and alien sinew burst in all directions. The ship screamed. Throughout orbit, Caraxi ships veered off course. Patterns broke. Communications died. Individual minds, once subjugated, awakened in terror and confusion. Some began to flee. Some turned on their own. Scene 7. Fire without fury on Earth. People watched the skies. The once unstoppable invasion fleet faltered. Burners fell silent. Drone patrols drifted without command. Cities still smoked, but the assault had stopped. In the silence, new voices rose. Not just military broadcasts, but songs. Messages of hope. Resistance networks becoming governments. Engineers becoming architects. Refugees becoming leaders. Humanity didn't just survive. It transformed. Scene 8. Broadcast to the stars. In a global transmission from the rebuilt United Nations bunker, Elena stood before cameras now linked to every surviving colony. Every station, and through captured alien tech, to the stars. To the peoples beyond Earth, she said, we are not what you expected. We are not prey. We are not primitives. She looked up, into the camera, into space. We are pressure-born, gravity-forged, and we are still standing. End of Chapter 5. The Price of Gravity. Chapter 6. After the ashes. Scene 1. The silence between wars. 6. Weeks had passed since the Jirax fell. Above Earth, alien ships still drifted, powerless and skeletal. Some had crashed in remote oceans. Others were seized by human salvage teams and converted into orbital outposts. The rest simply floated, abandoned tombs of a failed conquest. Humanity had won. But peace, Alina Torres had learned, didn't feel like triumph. It felt like standing in a graveyard of gods. She stood aboard the Athena's Spear, now docked at an orbital ring assembled from hybrid alien-human tech. Below her, Earth turned, bruised but alive. Reports from Africa, she asked Sana Malik over the intercom, stabilizing. Some Drask units have surrendered 2 local councils. The Felix envoy is en route to Nairobi for the summit. Alina exhaled, and the Karaxi. Malik hesitated. No contact, not since the neural collapse. Some signals flicker in deep space, but they're incoherent, fragmented. Alina didn't like the sound of that. Scene 2. The Nairobi Accords. The peace summit took place in the scorched remains of Nairobi's old UN compound. Now rebuilt, it shimmered with glass and steel, salvaged from alien wreckage, framed by bullet-pocked concrete walls left untouched. A reminder: delegations arrived not just from surviving human nations, but from alien species. The Felax, small Therian remnant, even a single Urshok diplomat, carried in a gravity-dampening exopood. Maya Ortiz, now an official envoy of the resistance, stood in the central hall, watching the mix of alien forms and human uniforms. She hadn't seen Vethin in person since Cairo. He entered silently, thinner than before, wrapped in his luminous Felax membrane, leaning on a carbon cane. "You look tired," Maya said, meeting his eyes. "I am," Vethin replied. "Your gravity pulls more than bones." She looked around. "You ready for this?" "No," he said, "but I am willing." Scene 3. Terms of peace. The summit began in tension. Earth demanded reparations. The Felax offered knowledge. Therians, fragile and reflective, begged only to be left in peace. But the Urshuk, the diplomat, a scarred ex-warlord named Brathkal, spoke with a translator chisel embedded in his throat. "You fought well," he growled. "We respect that. But we will not kneel." Maya leaned forward. "No one's asking you to kneel. We're asking you to stay off our planet." The old warrior bared his fangs. "Your gravity already broke us. That was enough." Alina raised her voice. "Then let this be the last war Earth ever fights." For a moment, no one answered. Then Vethin said softly, "If not the last war, perhaps the first peace." Scene 4. Echoes of the Karaxi far beyond Earth's orbit. In the shadow of Jupiter, something stirred. The last functioning fragment of Karaxi consciousness drifted through an automated relay node, feeding on radiation and data. It was damaged, its collective mind torn apart, but not dead. Fragments of thought looped within it, repeating they were not supposed to resist. They were not supposed to survive. Adaptation, mutation, defiance, and then new thoughts bloomed. Perhaps the humans are valuable. Perhaps we were wrong to dominate. Perhaps we've become something else. The Karaxi seeds splintered again, not collapsing but evolving, and something new woke up. Scene 5. The Torch of the Dead. In what remained of Paris, Maya visited the memorial on the banks of the Seine. Rows of metal spires stood in silence, each inscribed with names: soldiers, civilians, scientists, children, human and alien alike. She placed a bullet casing at the base of a Therian name she could barely pronounce. "You didn't belong in this war," she whispered. Behind her, Vethin approached, his steps slow. "You've become heavy," he said. "Not in mass, in memory." Maya smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "It's the gravity," she said. "It keeps us grounded." Scene 6. Earth ascending from the orbiting platform Unity Station, Alina addressed a gathering of Earth's leaders and alien observers. "We are no longer just a planet of survivors. We are a planet of participants." She gestured toward the void beyond the viewing glass. "For centuries, we wondered what waited out there. Now we know. War, empires, collapse, and still life continues." She looked out into space. "Yes. If we are to belong to the stars, Let it be not as victims, but as architects. And for the first time in history, Earth's flag unfurled not in battle, but in peace. Scene 7. Epilogue. Gravity Forged. Years later, a child sits beside a veteran on a Martian plateau, looking up at a sky full of stars and orbiting relics. "Grandma," the child says, "were the aliens really that scary?" Maya Ortiz, older now, scarred but strong, smiles softly. "They were strange," she says, "but scary." She picks up a stone, heavy with the red Martian dust, and hands it to the child. "They couldn't carry this." The child laughs, tossing it from hand to hand. "Why not?" "Because Maya says, Earth made us heavy, not just in body and soul," and above them the stars watched and remembered. End of chapter 6.